never play that. We love the open country, the Roman way, and the secret boat, this hammer night. We make 50 century. This is a home we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. No, we ain't giving up no money. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.
All right there. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Guyana. Good afternoon, Guyana. And a pleasant good afternoon also to the diaspora. Please, everyone, like this program and share the link. I'm going to give you a minute to do so. I hope everybody's having a pleasant Saturday afternoon thus far. The holidays are upon us, ladies and gentlemen. The holidays is upon us. So you know what happened during the holiday season. It's a time to celebrate with your family. That means we are going to be spending a lot of money. That's if some of us even have that, based on what's happening out there today. So share the link, everyone. Pleasant good afternoon to each and every one of you. Janice M. Johnson, good afternoon to you. Jennifer Douglas, good afternoon. Pamela Thomas, good afternoon. You, Hollister Trotman, pleasant good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome to Over to You. We have a few topics that we're going to discuss, this afternoon. And of course, this program is brought to you courtesy of Linda's Restaurant in Church Avenue between 53rd and 54th Street. And of course, Benchop Consultancy. Share the link, everyone. Like the program. I'm going to give you a minute to do so.
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965, I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Indeed. Cost of living is through the roof. We see it where the Guyanese people are feeling the squeeze, every day. And The government just continues to posture, you know, in their transactional ways. And listen, the fight continues. The first issue I want to touch on this afternoon has to do with central housing and planning. So I had an individual reach out to me who I know very, very well, like since in my childhood days. And he was explaining to me that he was awarded a piece of land. Okay, so he already has a piece of land that he was awarded. But then Central Housing and Planning called him again and told him that he was eligible for another piece of land. So he went ahead and he paid down on the second piece of land that was awarded to him. All right, time has went by since he would have paid down on the second piece of land. This individual has since transitioned to the diaspora, migrated to the diaspora. He received a call from Central Housing and Planning indicating to him that he is ineligible for that second piece of land that was awarded to him. Okay, his response to Central Housing and Planning was that, okay, that's fine, but I would need my refund. Now, here is where we have the issue, right? And this just shows me how corrupt the government is. This government is very, very, very corrupt, okay? And we do have a liquidity issue in Guyana. There is a liquidity issue in Guyana, and I'm going to explain that later. They told him that he would need to send documentation for someone to be able to transact that business on his behalf, which he did. He sent down the information and he has someone acting as his power attorney to transact the business for him with Central Housing and Planning. Okay, once he did that, he then received communication from them indicating he needs to state why he wants back his refund. Now, this I find to be very crazy. This is, when he told me that, I just could not believe it. Reason as to why one would want back their refund in a country that has so many people living in poverty, under a government that is so oppressive, you would want to know why someone would want back their refund. Now, mind you, this individual would have paid off for half of the land already. So that would be a material amount of money, you know, given we're talking about Guyana here. You know, any amount of money in Guyana is material these days because of the circumstances that people are living under. So they told him, once he asked for his refund, that it was not available. Once monies are paid, it is transferred to the consolidated fund. Now, as an accountant, this is not making too much sense to me, because I would figure that you would have a holding entity or a holding account somewhere in between the consolidated fund and Central Housing and Planning. So when you receive partial payments, you don't have to move them to the consolidated fund immediately. You wait until the person has paid in full, and then you can go ahead and make the transfer to the consolidated fund. But for someone to ask you for their refund and you telling them that it is in the consolidated fund and it's not available, that is not good. That is not good, and it just shows you, Colin Crowell, and you guys need to do a way better job. You know, and right now it's even too late for you guys to try to improve. There is too much corruption when it comes to housing. Well, corruption right across the country. But this is just another example of the failures of this installed PPPC dictatorship regime. This man has to get back his money. You guys just can't take poor people money and keep their money. Are you kidding me? You guys are already so rich. You don't need anything else. And that's what Guyana has been about, you know. These guys have just been leeching off of the poor, sucking them for everything that they have. Now, I'm going to try to work with this man to make sure that he gets back his money. Because one thing I'm going to say, that land should not be awarded to anyone else until that man would have received his refund. And you see, that's the issue there. They go out and they would issue out that land to someone else, and they didn't refund that man who would have already paid down half the amount of money on that land. And that's the problem in Guyana, when we find that, you know, different people are showing up with documents claiming the same property and all these type of things. It's just scams. And these scams are perpetrated under the PPPC. Whenever you think of corruption and you think of scams, you think PPPC. We have to, listen, these areas, these segments, we have to make changes. There have to be major changes in the processes. The processes are off. If you receive a partial payment, it should not go into the consolidated fund. It should not. You need to have it in a holding account. What if the person comes back and say, hey, I no longer want to do this transaction? You must have a certain level of liquidity and cash available in case someone comes back seeking a refund. But what happened, these guys take the monies and they throw it in, they claim that they throw it into the consolidated fund. No, they're taking people's money and they're making out loans to others. You know, I think the government need to be investigated completely, because I think there's a lot of Ponzi schemes that are running within this government. I think there's a lot of Ponzi schemes within this government. You know, you know, in moving forward, you know, we need to be more conscious of these type of things. We need to really, really, really be more conscious of these type of things. Moving forward, Mr. Malcolm Harry Paul, you know, and what would have happened to him this past week with his arrest and everything else. You know, it just shows you where this government stands. And we continue to call, or continue, quote unquote, to say that Guyana is a democracy. Guyana is not a working democracy. There is no way that Guyana can be a working democracy when you have a government that is even unwilling to communicate with its opposition. There is no engagement between government and opposition. Whenever we go to Parliament, anything that is tabled by the opposition, the speaker takes and he throws it to the side. By the way, that's the worst speaker in the history of Guyanese Parliament. worse by far, should have never been sitting in that seat. Horrible. Manzir Nadir, you're horrible, horrible individual. So when we go to parliament, we get nothing done for the people. We have a government that is sitting and infringing on the rights of Guyanese. They're infringing on the civil liberties of Guyanese. People should have the right to speak. It is a right. And the Constitution protects that right. And executing that right should be a significant function of government. Instead of that, the PPPC has the Ethnic Relations Commission. That is a complete protection blanket for just the PPPC only, as they are always biased in favor of the PPPC. What wrong could Malcolm Harry Paul have said compared to that guy who says he sits in the seat as vice president? Barra Jagdeo calling the Honorable Miss Catherine Hughes a lowlife. You can pick up on what Malcolm Harry Paul said and seek to persecute him. But Jagdeo get to walk free. Another example, Mr. Takuma Gonsi. You picked up on that quickly and you persecuted him. But when we had this young kid, Imran, that said, oh yes, we need to poison out all them black man this, black man that, black man the other. Where is the persecution? You know, where it is that you guys stepped out and would have addressed something of that nature. You did absolutely nothing. You are passive. And there is nothing that Malcolm Harry Paul would have said that should have rendered you guys arresting him. But what happened? He got on the show with Mr. Freddie Kissoon, and he was not aligning himself with the narrative that Freddie wanted him to align himself with. The man had his own opinion, and rightfully so. When one comes on a program, they should have a right to speak and give their opinion and their side. They shouldn't be coming on a program and saying what you want them to say, especially if what you want them to say is the wrong thing. So I salute Malcolm Harry Paul. He's a patriotic Guyanese. And, you know, I would invite him to come on over to you at any time for us to have a discourse. Mr. Harry Paul, if you're watching, you're welcome to come on next weekend with me so that you can speak and speak freely, because you deserve that right. You've earned that right. You have served Guyana with distinction, and you've earned the right for your voice to be heard. Ethnic Relations Commission. You know, to the extent we have a new government, the ERC needs to be decommissioned and rebuilt from the ground up. All the elements, meaning all the individuals. I don't care who is from the side of the opposition. I don't care who is from the side of the PPPC. All I have to say to you guys, that you've all been a failure, a complete failure to the Guyanese people. You are a waste of taxpayers' money. You are a waste of the time of the Guyanese people. I think it's the guy Roshan Khan or whatever it is. You guys are failures. You mean absolutely nothing. You do nothing for the people. You're unfair. You're biased in favor of the PPPC. And you can challenge that wherever you want. You guys are a failure. The ERC has been a failure to the Guyanese people and should be decommissioned. I will go to the comments of my listeners and viewers and see what else they want to speak on. You guys work with me here. Let me know what else you guys want to talk about. While we at it also, one thing I've heard, I don't have evidence to support it, but I still want to put it out there. I understand that students at the President's College, okay, is sleeping out the dorm in the hallways on the floor. If anyone have information on this, please inbox me. I think we have Mr. Malcolm Harry Paul on the phone. A pleasant good afternoon to you, Mr. Harry Paul, if you can hear me.
Very good afternoon to you, Wayne, and all listeners out there, all viewers out there. Very good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on, sir. And the first question I want to ask, how are you keeping? How are you feeling?
I am much better today. I spent the day resting today because from the time the police picked me up, it was very hectic. In fact, that day, last Thursday, I was up early as usual, did my chores, and had to go to Georgetown, and I walked around Georgetown, walked back home. So that's like a 5 mile, and by the time I got home, the police showed up to arrest me by Thursday midday. And then I did not eat anything else since breakfast that day. Did not eat any lunch, any dinner that day, and I did not sleep that night because I was kept at breakdown lockup, and I really words cannot describe that place. How filthy, how dirty it is. One will not even put pigs in there. That no one will keep the pig place. But yet Guyanese are made to. Yet Guyanese are detained there by the police, by the state of Guyana. So that was a bit rough for me. Then I had to go back to CID headquarters the Friday morning to be interrogated again. And then go through the whole sham of appearing in court and charges and so on.
Okay. So I don't know.
I must say, yeah.
I don't know if you could speak to the charges, but we would like to know, what charges was placed on you.
Well, first of all, on Thursday, they read something from the Cybercrime Act and referring to a post I made on Facebook. And they're saying, what actually they're saying, but when you put aside all the words that have been said, is that basically I was trying to overthrow the government of Guyana by Facebook, by social media. That's what it amounted to, what they were saying, right? So, yeah, but on Friday they changed it, they moved to another act, and they ended up charging me for inciting racial ethnicity and division in Guyana. So that's what I was charged for. So I was from my street, and charges were read. I pled not guilty, and I was put in a $100,000 bail.
Okay.
That was Friday afternoon, yesterday.
Inciting racial. That that's something that they should be charging Barry Jagdeo with. It's funny, but you spoke out, and because you spoke out, I feel that is what offended them. And the fact also that it is coming from a very credible source, a credible person, an individual that would have served the country. And I want to go back, Malcolm, to when you would have been on the show with Freddie Kissoon, because I think this is where this all started. I think they expected you to come on the show, but they didn't expect you to have the opinion that you would have had concerning, the discourse that you guys would have been having. It seemed that if Freddie wanted to guide you or make you say what he would, follow his narrative, and it seems as if you had your own opinion and you wanted your opinion to be heard. You want to elaborate on that? What would have transpired there?
And yes. And this is it. During the Bonham era and during the era of President Hoyt, that's up to 1992. We have always had challenges, false claims from Venezuela, and the PNC government of the day would respond by having the GDF and the Guyana People's Militia and the Guyana National Service march around the regions, displaying our strength, our capabilities. And we depended on no foreigner to come and defend Guyana, but Guyanese only. That was the position. And in addition, Bonham built a very, very strong diplomatic corps, because one of the pillars of defense was that of civil defense, whereby the diplomatic corps acted at the level of United Nations, the Organization of American States, and non-aligned movement and other world bodies will move quickly to get the world to condemn Venezuela in case of an incursion by Venezuela, to force Venezuela to stop its incursion. And this would be after the GDF and the People's Militia and National Service would have blocked the Venezuelan incursion for at least 2 hours. And we would have taken some casualties. But at the end of it all, we expected that Venezuela was being stopped by the world bodies and by our own security forces. What the PEP did after getting the power, they destroyed the diplomatic corps. As you remember, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Roy, went around dismissing professional diplomats and replacing them with PPP hacks. And they also did away with the Guyana National Service, and they did away with the Guyana People's Militia, and they've vastly reduced the numbers in the GDF. So the GDF today is but a shell of what it used to be in my days as a member of the GDF. All right? So it was very annoying for me to see them bring out school trained and workers to wave flags at rallies, as if that is going to scare the Venezuelans, as if waving flags at rallies would defend the country in real terms. The only body that can defend the country in real terms would be the military, and in this case, the Ghana Defense Force. All right. But when I looked at the situation, as you know, the Ghana Defense Force is predominantly African Guyanese, poor African Guyanese, are not being called upon to go sacrifice their lives for Esquivel. Whilst PP supporters are not in the army, and they're cheering on poor people to go fight and give up their lives to Esquivel, but they don't want to be in the front line to go fight, and I think they should be in the front line to fight too, especially since the PP supporters are the ones benefiting from Guyana. They're the ones benefiting from Esquivel. They're the ones who hold all the gold concessions, the forestry concessions, everything you could think about, right? Not poor African Guyanese, but the PP supporters, the Indo-Guyanese, and that was my thing. In addition to that, when you try to talk with them, they say all sorts of disparaging things about the GDF. And what prompted me to make the post, because the night before, in conversation with a person who has a PhD to his name, he said that, well, the black people get them free food, free housing, free uniform, and they got to go and fight, got to get them free pay. I found that very offensive to me, a former member of the GDF. I found it offensive to the current men and women in uniform serving this country and who are on the border. I found it to be offensive for those of us who served before. Like, I think of the men in my platoon back in the days and the men in my company and the soldiers I trained when I was at the training corps. And to me, it's very insulting to all these very good, these excellent men and women who serve, who gave their lives for Guyana. Great insult to all of them. And I could not stand to have him say things like that. All right? And I told him so. The next morning, the Wednesday morning, in conversation with a person in New York, he repeated the same thing. And that got me a bit mad, and I ended up making the post saying that, the post that I made. But I think what some Indians are in the PP hierarchy are offended by, because I list PP supporters being brainwashed over decades by the PP. They're being brainwashed in the rum shops, in the mandirs, and the masjid. I think they took offense to me saying masjid, right? And I think that really is the problem there. Some people took offense to me saying that, and that's what caused this whole thing about ordering me to be arrested and having me charged, having me put in handcuffs, put me in handcuffs, and go through the whole thing, which they saw as humiliation, but I don't see it as humiliation. It's making me strong. What it did make me much stronger, and it makes me more convinced that I was correct, that I was speaking the truth, and I will always speak the truth. I will always stand up for the men and women in uniform in Guyana. For those serving now and those who served before. I won't have anybody disrespect them.
And
that's what caused them to charge me for inciting racial hostility.
Racial hostility. Well, Mr. Harry Paul, I agree with every word that would have just came from your mouth, 100%. You are right. And I could see the reasoning why the PPPC is very, very offended by your post and what your post had to say. But you know what? The truth really do hurts, and you are speaking the truth, And for someone to come and say that, Afro-Guyanese that are serving in the Guyana Defense Force, they're getting free food, free room and board. And I mean, that is so low, and it shows you where we stand as a country, and it also depicts the installed regime that we have in place right now, and what they are all about, going on to the bottom house and instilling the wrong values into their supporters. Because if you look across the board, you can see that most of the times, these outrageous remarks, it comes from supporters of the PPPC, and they have to stop it. And it all starts with Barra Jagdeo. It all starts with him. But Mr. Harry Paul, moving forward, and you were keen to mention the Guyana National Service and the Guyana Militia. Those two areas of the joint services.
If I may correct you, this did not start with Barra Jagdeo. This was an ongoing thing in the days of the PPP since they were in opposition. When they were in opposition back in those days, they actively discouraged supporters from joining the army and the militia and the national service. And in those days, they would refer to the GDF as Guyana dog food. Any Indian who dared to join the GDF was labeled a PNC. That's supposed to be a very bad thing to be labeled PNC back in those days. I could tell you this from a personal experience, right? But what Jagdeo did is that what is usually uttered at the bottom houses and Sandy Rumsha, he said so publicly at the meeting in Beast, and I'm sure there are many videos available where he said that, basically he was saying that the black people have guns and the black people come and kick down your door. He said that. It's on video.
Right. And rape your daughters and do all this stuff. Yes, he did say that.
Yeah.
He also warned the indigenous people and told them the same thing. That, the Guyana Defense Force, the Guyana Police Force, these guys are going to kick down your doors and rape you.
Yeah, and I've written about this for the past 30 years, that the reason why they do not want East Indians and they do not want the supporters to serve in the military in Guyana is that they want to keep their supporters in a state of fear of black people in Guyana, so that at election time, they come and say, well, if you vote for the black man, get back in power. And that's what they usually do. I mean, Jagdeo said it in 2015 or sometime around there. He said so publicly at a rally in Georgetown. All right? So there's no debate about it. That's how they operate. Now, why they don't want the supporters to join the army and police is that if they join the army and they undergo training with soldiers and become soldiers, the different values imparted on them. All right? and then they will no longer cease to be afraid of African Guyanese. So at the elections time, you can't go and tell them about black people. Because hey, guess what? We train with them and we're not afraid of them. We're all bodies. We all serve in the army. We all serve in the GPM or so. Why should we be afraid? So therefore, the Indo-Guyanese might strictly race. They might vote on issues which they don't want. So
Right.
to keep voting on race, they have to keep them afraid of African Guyanese.
You are so right. Again, good afternoon, everyone. With us this afternoon is retired Lieutenant Mr. Malcolm Harry Paul. And Mr. Harry Paul, when you look at the dynamics right now in Guyana when it comes to the joint services and the fact that we have a 48% dropout rate in school, do you see where it is necessary to have the Guyana militia, to have an active Guyana militia and an active Guyana National Service? Do you see the need?
Well, it so happens when I was in the lockup Thursday night at Brick Dam, all the prisoners they were all black youths, boys in their 20s, and during the night we were conversing, and they've been involved in crime since they were early teens. All right, and have always been in crime. They have always been in and out of jail. And I spoke to them about the Guyana National Service. Of course, they do not know what was the Guyana National Service. In fact, Guyanese who are 35 to 40 years and younger do not know about the Guyana National Service. Never heard of it. Do not know what it was. Okay, so I explained to them what the Guyana National Service is all about. And I think the Guyana National Service urgently needed in Guyana again to save youths, because once they fall through the cracks in the school system and in the family system and the village system, they can always be caught in the net of the Guyana National Service, where they'll have a disciplined environment to reside in and become disciplined, where they learn various skills that they can go out onto the street and enter civilian life and be meaningfully employed with those skills. It will take time, but the Guyana National Service did save many, many youths. And I think it's badly needed in Guyana today. Badly needed in Guyana today, the Guyana National Service to save the youths. And in terms of the defense of Guyana, the total defense of Guyana, there is urgent need to resuscitate the Guyana People's Militia for all people. And if the PP supporters / the Indian supporters do not want to enlist and serve the country, I think compulsory military service required. Compulsory military service, like many, many countries in the world, like Venezuela. In Venezuela, once out of school and you're 16 to 18 years old, you have to serve in the army or the National Guard. Have to. It's law. So we need the same thing in Guyana. We might need that in Guyana, compulsory military service in Guyana for all citizens, all.
Well said, Mr. Harry Paul. These are real powerful words and great knowledge. Thank you. I know that I'm edified, and I for sure know that our listeners and viewers are edified by what you're saying here. And the opposition, I hope that they're listening to what you're saying here, because to the extent that we have a new government in place in 2025, there is a need for the Guyana National Service to be resuscitated, and the same for the Guyana militia. I totally agree. And, to have our children dropping out of school, I also agree with you saying that there should be some kind of mandatory service in the Guyana Defense Force, or whether it's going to be, the new Guyana National Service or the new Guyana militia. I feel like if that is necessary, I feel like if it really helps when it comes to disciplining our young people and shaping them and getting them ready for that, successful future. Now, Mr. Harry Paul, I just want to pivot back, to your case. When are you supposed to be in court? When are you scheduled to be in court?
Say again?
when are you scheduled to be in court to answer to these
First court
charges
appearance
again?
will be the 11th of December at Freedom. 11th of December at Freedom. Meanwhile, I have to report to the police at Freedom every week at mornings, on Monday mornings.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
when
Yes.
why are you so offended with derogatory remarks against members of the GDF? It's not just GDF, it's soldiers all over the world. And my children serve in the U.S. Armed Forces. My son served in the Marine Corps. My daughter served in the U.S. Army, and is serving theaters of war. So it's like you are insulting soldiers all over the world. Because they get because your thinking is free food, free boots, and all kind of nonsense. You're not looking at the service they're doing for the country, the patriotism, the sacrifice they're making for the country.
Right. That is true. That is true. And Mr. Harry Paul, when you look at how our soldiers are paid too, they're so underpaid, but yet they're willing to stand up and to be patriots and to defend their country and to receive such remarks.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's another reason why the PP supporters don't want to join. They say it's low pay, and they do not want to work for low pay. So we have the African youths going to work for low pay, put their lives in the line, and yet they're going to insult them.
Well, listen, it doesn't surprise me. It is typical PPPC modus operandi and the way they operate. Like I would have said over and over again, that they're a government that is transactional in nature, and they care not for the people, who they are supposed to be serving. So, all these things that we are uncovering, it's not surprising me, but I do hope, that you do come out the winner in this situation. And I want to call on all Guyanese, to step up, step forward, and let's support our brother here, because he's not standing up just for himself. He is standing up for all Guyanese. We are one people. No matter what, it may be 6 ethnic groups or whatever the case is, we are one people. We are all Guyanese. And we need to stand behind Mr. Harry Paul. He would have served in the Guyana Defense Force. He did his service to our country. He served for all of us. Mr. Harry Paul, is there anything else that you want to add? Maybe something that I didn't ask you, something that you probably see and would like to discuss further?
No, I think we have said it all for the time being, and I look forward to for support from the international community in this matter. I'm pretty sure they go out to try to convict me, to put me in prison, to make some of the people in the PP happy,
Well, we're going to make sure that you're not going into any prison. We are going to fight tooth and nail with this. We are here to support you. I encourage you to just look me up and inbox me. We can talk further. But we're going to be behind you 100%. In our opinion, in the opinion of the public, you have done absolutely nothing wrong, but demonstrated your democratic right in seeing that government is doing wrong and speaking out against it. That is what we're seeing. We don't see anything else. And, I just want to thank you for coming on and, spending this time with us. Very, very edifying. And I would surely like to invite you again to come on the show.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Caesar, and a very good night to all listeners and all viewers out there. And again, let's there should be, another thing I want to say regarding those young people in the McDonald lockups who are who have have been involved in crimes, serious crimes. They've said so. They're not denying it. They told me what they did and so on. And we have many pastors around Georgetown, many pastors and many small churches. Why don't they go to Breakdown? Why don't they make an arrangement with the police so every evening they can go there and sing a few hymns and let these people get involved in singing some hymns, right? Let them sing hymns and hope these folk can wake up with Jesus in their heart next morning and they can bring that kind of life to an end. If they can't get into Breakdown to do those things, you can go outside Breakdown. The lockup is near that side street there. Mark knows the street, and they could sing the hymns from there, and it will bring good spirit to those boys in the lockups there, right? Might not happen one time, it might not happen overnight, but eventually it will happen, and that's one way of saving them. Going to sing hymns so they could hear, and probably have them sing along too. Because it is very heart-wrenching for me to see young boys, young men, locked up like that because of a life of crime. Because also they come from very, very poor background. Very poor background. It's not right. Not right at all.
Mr. Harry Paul, that is an excellent statement. But what I'm going to say is that through all that has been going on in Guyana, the religious organization, their silence has been deafening. Outside of a Nigel London, a Pastor Anil Sogrim, and a few others, I can put them on one hand. There has been absolutely no one else saying anything. They've all been silent. But I say this, Mr. Harry Paul, someone like you can be an excellent role model to those young men sitting in the Breakdown prison. And I would encourage a new government, someone like you who's already a retired lieutenant who would have already served in Guyana, to have some kind of a post-retirement, some type of post-retirement employment for you to go out and edify these young people. Be a role model to them. Shape them. You have the values. You have all the wisdom. Impart your wisdom upon them. And many lives can be saved. I totally agree with this statement, and this is something that I will take note of and follow up on it because it makes so much sense. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, thank you very much for having me on, and again, very good night to all the viewers and listeners there. We'll talk again soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, that was retired Lieutenant Mr. Malcolm Harry Paul. And he was able to elaborate and tell us what's actually going on in the Breakdown lockups and what the lockups look like. We don't expect the lockups to be anything nice and to look nice. We're dealing with a government who is not going to upkeep anything. They're not upkeeping. They're busy, lining their pockets. That's the road we're going down right now. And to see all those youths, and like he said, he was very specific. Afro-Guyanese youths. Afro-Guyanese youths. Yes, there are many being oppressed. There are many living in poverty across the board, across all 6 ethnic groups. But specifically Afro-Guyanese, they're really under the gun. The indigenous people, they're really under the gun. The indigenous people in the interland lacks educational resources to educate their people correctly. Like Mr. Hughes would have so eloquently said the other night. There is no grade 1s coming out of the interland. Isn't that disgraceful? I know that there are many children in the interland capable of getting a grade 1, but the resources is just not there. And it's sad to see that in the 21st century, in a country with a smaller population as Guyana, so much wealth, so much resources available, and we still have our children being born into failure, complete failure, oppression. Our little girls, not given a chance to grow up, not given a chance to grow up, being molested, being touched, it's sad. It's sad. And I must point out the PPPC, under their reign, they are more guilty of such atrocities by far than anyone else. Look, in recent times, you hardly ever had anyone in place as government outside of the PPPC. They had 23 straight years. What are we waiting for? It is already proven that they're not capable of fixing Guyana and fixing our issues in Guyana. They're not capable. How much longer are we going to sit down and watch these people just march away with the wealth that belongs to all Guyanese? How long? And Mr. Harry Paul was very keen to talk about how Barry Jagdeo and the hierarchy of the PPPC mislead their supporters. Those supporters, I call on you. You have a mind of your own. Examine yourself first, and then examine what is disseminating from the mouth of Barry Jagdeo. And I want you to put in context. Don't have to say to anybody. Use your brain. Put in context what would have occurred in Guyana over the last 30 to 35 years. It's been all PPPC, except for the 5-year breather that you guys had with the coalition government, which I think they did an excellent job. Guyanese were protected. Guyanese were not persecuted. They could have persecuted Barry Jagdeo so many times. They failed to do this. They failed to have this happen. Just put that all into context, and that should answer the question for you. Don't vote along the lines of race. We're in the 21st century. Indo-Guyanese are marrying to Afro-Guyanese. Afro-Guyanese are marrying to Indo-Guyanese. All the 6 ethnic groups are marrying to each other. They all share markets together. We share hospital beds together. All 6 ethnic groups consist of people who live below the poverty line. Right? We share transportation together. We do everything together. So that narrative of Barry Jagdeo with this whole race thing and people raping you and army this and army that and police are going to kick down your door and soldiers going to kick down the road and rape your daughters and all these kind of things. Think of it. And think of the crisis that Guyana is facing now. And those same people who Barry Jagdeo would have criticized is who is at the front line defending you. So think about it. Who is wrong and who is right? And also think about it. Think about this. Where is Barry Jagdeo? In Dubai. Come on, guys. Come on. I know we don't have amnesia. I know we don't have amnesia. This is simply put. I have called so many times, and asked individuals to reach out to me if they feel like if they were being persecuted under the coalition. Not one person reached out to me. Not one single person has reached out to me. That paints the picture. Come on, people. We know what's right and we know what's wrong. Let's do the right thing. Come 2025, let's vote this install evil regime that does not seek to serve the people of Guyana out of power. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in this afternoon. I want you to go ahead and at best try to enjoy the remainder of your weekend. Thank you for allowing Ben Chop Radio to come into your home on this Saturday, the 2nd day of December 2023. Again, our program was brought to you compliments of Linda's Restaurant and Bakery. For your good West Indian American cuisine, visit Linda's. I know they're going to have some Christmas special. I think also they are doing black cakes. I am going to let you guys know exactly if they're doing black cake or not, because I'll be doing a visit there. Also, our program is brought to you compliments of Exquisite Hair Palace, located right opposite Linda's on Church Avenue. Exact address, 5321 Church Avenue, between East 53rd and 54th Street in Brooklyn, New York. Also, our program is brought to you compliments of Ben Chop Consultancy, Immigration and Law. Whenever you have your immigration needs, please reach out to Ben Chop Consultancy, where you will get the CEO of this platform and Ben Chop Radio 107.1 FM, Mr. Mark Anthony Ben Chop. Until next week, Saturday, I will see all of you guys. Enjoy. I should be on Straight Up during the week. I love all you guys. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata, Francis C. Wakenham, and since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
If you just know you're that girl,
Yeah.
you just have no choice but to be that girl. And I feel like I'm that girl.
Eve Moore or a border. And from someone, a low life like Cathy, you.
If you just know you're that girl,
Yeah.
you just have no choice but to be that girl. And I feel like I'm that girl.